In the news this week, Labor put its faith in an Indigenous senator as a veteran politician retires.
Plus, rising event costs threatens the future of ANZAC Day services.
And on Western Perspective, game of jobs, the unemployment struggle in WA.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Lung and Daniel Staniskov.
Good evening. There have been widespread discussions in federal politics this week after Labor appointed Indigenous leader Patrick Dodson as the new senator. But while party members support the move, some activists said Australia is still far behind when it comes to political racial diversity.
After Labor Senators Joe Bullock tendering in his resignation, federal opposition leader Bill Shorten appointed Patrick Dodson as the new replacement.
I've always had an interest in social justice and working conditions for people.
Mr. Dodson is a well-respected Indigenous leader in the country for his tireless work in Aboriginal reconciliation. He was also Australia's first ordained Aboriginal Catholic priest. For most Labor politicians, they see it as a positive sign that their party is embracing diversity within its politics.
Patrick is a great role model for Indigenous Australians, but for all Australians, and I think it sends a great message that someone his stature can have a role in the national parliament. And hopefully that will inspire many Aboriginal people to lift their horizons.
Although Mr. Dodson's appointment has been seen as a positive step in the world of politics, activists say that Australia still has a long way to go to achieve racial diversity.
The demography of this nation is not represented equally in our parliaments. Until we reflect the demography of this nation in our parliaments, we've got a long way to go.
Patrick Lazar's WAMN News.
ANZAC Day services might face cutbacks as the Return and Service League faces significant event cost increases for events. The RSL's president warns ANZAC Day could be priced out of the state if services continue to expand rapidly. Nelson Liu has a summary.
Graham Edwards has warned ANZAC Day ceremonies may need to be cut back following expanding costs for bigger crowds and ceremonies in WA each year. He's revealed it costs WA around $1.5 million for statewide ceremonies, but the RSL is dependent on Lottery West funding and could end up out of pocket for events, including its ceremony in the city this year. Veterans Minister Joe Francis says ceremonies will continue as usual, but Mr Edwards says ANZAC Day could be priced out of WA if we're not careful.
What I'm pointing out is that grant does not cover the cost of running ANZAC Day, and alone in the city, for just one service, for one day, it will cost the RSL over $100,000.
The RSL says it may need to reconsider how and where services are conducted if costs continue to rise. Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
The Elizabeth Quay Water Park remains closed as authorities carried out a thorough examination into the faulty water system. The opposition suspects its ongoing contamination problems is a result of the government's decision to involve interstate companies in the project. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Redevelopment Authority says they are working closely with the Department of Health and other stakeholders to resolve the problem.
We called on the government over a week ago to actually release the data about the water quality, and they have refused to do so.
They are licensed in New South Wales and they did all the work inside the plant room in the water feature. There have been some issues that we're addressing right now, in fact as we speak, and they're going to be rectified and corrected by a West Australian licensed plumber.
The successful Bopha Street Festival has been axed this year, following Vincent Mayor John Kerry's claims its popularity and costs have made the event unsustainable. Last year, more than 160,000 people were attracted to the festival, costing the City of Vincent and Lottery West $450,000. It's understood that smaller events will be held as replacements to the festival starting this year.
We have to be pragmatic and realistic, and that is that with such a large festival there are significant costs and it can't be sustained on the current $500,000 budget.
More sanctions are set to hit North Korea after a unanimous decision by the United Nations Security Council. The motion was drafted by China and the United States after North Korea carried out another round of nuclear tests and missile launches. The sanction aims to cut North Korea's effort to fund its nuclear program. The ban includes a mandatory inspection for cargoes heading to and from the communist state. The United Nations Secretary General has welcomed the Security Council's decision.
The anti-Chinese government bookstores shareholder Louis Paul has returned to Hong Kong after going missing in China for 6 months. The story has gained international attention after several of the Causeway Bay Bookstores shareholders vanished. Local reports said Louis and 2 other shareholders were released on bail by the mainland authorities. However, shareholder Gui Minhai and Li Bo's fate remain unclear. Meanwhile, critics see this event as a violation towards human rights.
And finally tonight, cyclist Bruce Bowman has begun his epic cross-country charity bike ride after leaving Melbourne CBD this Friday. Mr. Bowman is aiming to raise $20,000 for suicide prevention charity Beyond Blue. He'll be updating his latest situation on his blog.
He's headed across Victoria. At the moment he's in Castlemaine for the night, and tomorrow he's on his way to St Arnaud. It's just not amazing that he's riding across Australia, but it's opening up the lines of communication about mental health, and he's been approached by lots of people talking about how they've suffered depression and anxiety. So I think that's a fantastic thing, is he's raising awareness as well as money.
And good luck to him. And those are the stories you need to know this week. You can stay up to date with the latest news on our website and Facebook.
We'll see you next Sunday. Here's Nelson Liu with Western Perspective. Good evening.
Good night.
Hello, I'm Nelson Liu and welcome to Western Perspective.